Welcome to the GameSpot Show. On today's episode, Dan Ryckert shares his thoughts on the critically acclaimed Blueprints, and Jake tells you why Look Outside is worth your time.
Hey there, sir. $1. Thank you very much.
And now, your host, Kurt Indavina.
Hi, folks. I'm Kurt Indavina. Welcome to the GameSpot Show. It's going to be an exciting, thrilling episode because, let's face it, there's a few things in this world right now that people aren't too thrilled about. One of them being the Switch 2. But really, what are we switching to? That's right. That's what I thought. But you know, there's a lot of things to be upset about, and I would suggest that maybe you should just look outside. And I'm not talking about that literally. I'm talking about a game called Look Outside. So we're going to switch to a new segment called Game Spotlight with Jake Decker talking about Look Outside. Hey, can you dim the lights for me real quick?
I want to tell you about a little game called Look Outside. This is a cosmic horror turn-based game set in an apartment building. The whole idea is that if you look outside, you die, or something like that. There's some cosmic force taking over the world, and it's filled the sky. People have looked outside, and something wrong has gone on with them. They might still be alive, but you don't really know. But what you do know is that things like eyeballs are sprouting out of their chest, or teeth are growing all over their body. There's a bunch of other disgusting horror-like enemies that you'll fight along the way. But the game starts as you wake up in bed. You find out about this phenomenon through a character who is spying on you through the wall. After that, you are kind of free to do what you want. It's kind of structured like a day-to-day basis. So every time you enter a different room, time passes, and at the end of the day, you need to go to bed. And that way, it's kind of similar to something like Stardew Valley. So there are things you can do. You can cook, you can play video games to pass time, you can do crosswords, you can craft different things that'll help you survive. However, what most people will likely do, and what I did almost right away, was I left the apartment and explored the building itself. And this is where you start to see a lot of the horror elements take hold. As you're exploring, you'll find weapons, armor. I say armor, but it's more like a t-shirt or sunglasses. You'll find money, which can be used to buy snacks from vending machines, or you can find different shops throughout the apartment building. At least I've found one. I'm sure there's more, but I found one. So as you're exploring the apartment building, your character will start to lose sanity. And the way you get that back is by going back to your room, sleeping, showering, even brushing your teeth, playing video games like mentioned before. All of this is presented in sort of a top-down pixel art style, kind of similar to something like Earthbound, particularly in how the combat scenarios play out, so you don't see your character. So instead, those turn-based battles kind of take place in first person. You are looking at the enemies that you are fighting, and I think that's super effective because of how disgusting all these enemies look. Even though it is pixel art and not as detailed as something like Silent Hill 2 Remake or Resident Evil, these monsters are unsettling. I almost think the creator is sparing us by showing us these creatures in pixel art as opposed to highly detailed, scary looking monsters. If you're into horror games and turn-based RPGs, Look Outside might be for you. I think it's $10 on Steam right now. I definitely recommend reading the difficulties very carefully. The normal difficulty mode is very unforgiving in terms of how the save system works. So you could spend 50 minutes, 40 minutes exploring the apartment, and then you die, and you lost that 40 or 50 minutes. If you're up for that challenge, go for it. For me, I went with the easier difficulty just because I wanted to move along. I wanted to see the story, and it is kind of a long game. I was checking Steam, and it seems like people have put in around 20, even 30 hours in order to finish this game. So there's a lot there, a lot of puzzles to solve, a lot of really weird and interesting characters to meet, and some very creepy moments with a synthy soundtrack to back it all up.
Welcome back. What'd you think about that, Dan? Dan Ryckert, Mr. Ryckert?
Oh, I've been looking at a still frame of you looking at a different thing.
Oh, so you didn't see
my review of Kurt and Davina looking off frame is doing great, Kurt. Just killing it. 8.5 out of 10, I would say.
Really? What would make it a 9? We don't do a decimal system.
I do.
More
nodding. I think more nodding, maybe the occasional, put your chin on your finger. I'll be like, ooh, yes, that's, yeah.
I rub my lips.
Yeah, it's not helping you.
But the nodding does?
Nodding's good, yes.
Cool. Have you looked outside recently?
Looked outside? Not really. I live in Minnesota, so for the last 6 months or so, it's just kind of a bummer to look outside, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Well, if you, based on Jake Decker's recommendation, you don't have to. It might kill you if you look outside.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff out there that can kill me. Yeah.
You're here because we're talking about a game that is critically acclaimed. I think if I remember, if my brain serves me right, because I pay attention, I really don't, but pay attention enough. People, it's considered the best rated game of 2025 so far, and that is Blue Prince.
It is Blue Prince, and that has consumed my life for the last couple of weeks. And I would say, without a doubt, my game of the year so far. Oh, it's not like, here's the thing. You are seeing people post online about how this is one of the best games of all time. That's not hyperbole. It is the type of game that if someone told me my favorite game ever is Blue Prince, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say at all. This is one of the most singular, unique gaming experiences I've ever played. And also might be one of the hardest ones to talk about because it is easily spoilable. And so I'm going to try my best to talk about this wonderful game on this program and not ruin anything.
I'm going to ask you questions throughout this talk, and I will do my best to ask you questions that you can pose as non-spoilery.
Okay.
And I can't promise that anything I just said is true.
Great. Let's go. Let's do it.
To start, Steve Watts reviewed it for us. Steve Watts gave it a 9, and Steve Watts messaged me, Kurt and Davina specifically, and was like, Kurt, I just got to a part in this game called Blue Prince where you need a notebook. I think you will like this game.
Need a notebook is way underselling it. So I started with a bunch of notes and stuff where I'm drawing graphs. I'm doing all sorts of math. I've done more math in the last 2 weeks than I've done in the last 20 years, easily. And I have a screenshots folder I'm looking at right now with over 500 screenshots I've taken. I've got a lot of pictures on my phone. I've gone into Microsoft Paint and Photoshop. I have a giant sprawling Google Doc right now that just looks like absolute nonsense. If I showed it to you, you wouldn't. I don't even know if it would register as spoilers. I shouldn't do that. No.
Will you spoil something?
You wouldn't know what you're looking at, but once you're playing the game,
you would be like, show me a note. On your table. On one of your little graph things. Just show me one.
Okay. Here. Okay. I don't know if you can read anything here, but does that read as anything?
That looks like a serial killer. That looks like all Jack, no play, makes Jack a dull boy sort of jazz.
I'll read some to you. Face, ace, stage, stag, paint, pint, tie, time, cot, coat, cock, clock.
That's my favorite slam poetry I've ever heard.
I'm working on it. Yeah. That's my late career pivot.
Yeah. So I guess give me. I've understand. So first and foremost, it's called Blue Prince, which after watching the trailer, I understand is like a pun.
Yeah.
Because the game involves blue prints.
That's everyone's first realization with this game. Yes.
And that's the one of many. Or is that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So let me. I'll set the stage here when you start playing this game. And I have seen, understandably, after all of the hype from media that's been playing it and calling it one of the best games ever, I have today, now that it's out, and also it's out on PS Plus and Game Pass, so no excuse if you have one of those, start playing it. And I understand how people, a few runs in, it's not really clicking with them. Being like, wait, I don't really get the hype. I don't really understand it. Because initially, it's kind of like, okay, it's got this really nice art style and everything, cool tone to it, but it, somebody, Sean on our podcast said initially, it's just pipe dream, being like, oh, it's just you're trying to basically place rooms in this house on this grid. This is it 9x5? Yeah, it's a 9x5 grid. And the goal being get to the 46th room, get up here to the top of the house. And so initially, the first thing is like, okay, well, I've got this room that you can go left, right, and up out of. I've got this one that's a dead end, but it's got 2 items in it. I've got this one that's just a straight hallway. The thing is, it just seems like that at first. Like I'm just placing rooms trying to get to the end of a house. And like, if that were it, I mean, I would totally understand being like, what the hell is this? Why is everyone raving about this? But it is this game that unfolds itself with incredible pacing. It's slowly, like, even if you're not meaning to, you are progressing more than you realize as you play this game. And okay, let me put it this way. I played over 40 hours of it, and I lost my save. It's one of the hazards of you're playing a game pre-release. Cloud saves had not been implemented yet. And then when they did, I opened up on my Steam Deck. Long story short, I lost my save. I went right back in, which I would never do that with like any other game, I think. But because it's one of those Outer Wilds type games where like knowledge is kind of your progress, I was able to kind of get back. It's like, oh, well, no, I've done the notes here. I figured out the puzzle here. I can just kind of get right back to where I was. And now I know people that are, 100, well into the 100 hours with this game. And I see myself doing that as well, because I've seen credits at close to 50 hours, and I feel like I know 10 to 20% of what's going on.
So the game keeps going when you finish it.
Yes, but, a lot of games do that now, and I don't always, like, for instance, Animal Well. I think Animal Well is a very good game. Animal Well got a lot of similar hype of like, oh, it's got all these mysteries. It's like, oh, when you think you're done, you're not done. I played Animal Well. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun aha moments with that game. But when I saw credits the first time, I knew I could play 40, 50 more hours and see the 8th set of credits or whatever. But I felt like I was kind of done with Animal Well after the first time. And with this, I saw credits and I just feel like I'm getting started because there are so many, like, I've got like a to-do list on the top of my notes of like, I got to figure this thing out. I got to figure that thing out. And I know just from my notes that like, there's so much more to do, and I have to see kind of what the mystery is here. I'm deciphering languages. There are whole like rooms and areas I haven't unlocked or anything yet. So it very much unfolds. There's a narrative that I feel like I'm just now starting to kind of piece together the characters and the larger world outside of this house.
So that's what I was going to ask you. What is the game about? Is it just purely like, hey, you got to get to this 42nd, 6th room? Go for it, kid, and then that's where you probably can't tell me anything else.
Well, no, I mean, it basically starts with like you are a kid who has inherited a house, and as you walk into the first chamber each day, there's like a letter on the table, and it's from the previous owner of the house explaining like, hey, I am bequeathing this to you, but I loved puzzles, and I've set this up as a puzzle, and if you get to the 46th room, it's yours without any reservation or anything. So you basically inherited a house, and this family member that has passed on is like challenging you through puzzles, basically. And the thing is, I think the moment that it'll get its hooks into a lot of people is you'll do kind of the pipe dream layout thing, trying to get to the end a lot of times. And then like your first big aha moment will likely be like, you'll realize that things you've seen dozens, if not 100 times, you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that was something. I didn't realize that was a puzzle. And that's when you're breaking out the journal, the notebook and everything. And that's the first of many, many, many realizations that like almost everything you're seeing matters. It could just look like a bedroom that you're walking in. You've walked through this bedroom a million times, and then you'll see something in another room 10 hours later, and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I should be paying attention to that back there. So everything matters, certainly.
At what point did you have that, like how many hours in did you have that realization?
I'd say within the first like 4 or 5 hours was one of my first big like, oh, I need to rethink everything moments.
And that 5 hours, like, was that still, because like you say that's kind of been like a growing pain or a speed bump for a lot of people. Was that the same for you, or were you like, I just want to lay out these tiles? That's how it works, right? It's like tiles. It's like a grid system sort of thing.
Yeah, it's basically like every time you go to a door, it's almost like like a deck building thing where it's like or a roguelite where you've got these 3 options. Like, do you want to do this hallway? Do you want to do this this nook, or do you want to do this billiards room? And the first few hours are very much figuring out like, oh, every time I go to the billiards room, if I go to the dartboard, there is a math puzzle here, and if I solve it, the dartboard rises up, and there could be a couple keys or a couple gems. So, like, there are certain like currencies, like these keys and gems, that will help you unlock doors, draft more advanced rooms, things like that. There's gold that if you draft a shop, you can buy things at. So those first few hours before you have those giant revelations, there still is this feeling of progress because there are constantly new room types that are getting served to you.
And but what are those room types? Why do they, how do they change the gameplay?
So you've got some that are like just hallways, and so those are purely just to like open them, because I mean you can hit dead ends if you put the wrong rooms in place. But like, oh, if I get this hallway with 4 exits, that means I've got all these open-ended ways I can go here. And so like the hallways are usually like kind of gold colored, and so that's just for traversal. You've got the bedrooms you can lay down, and the bedrooms will increase your step count. So that's another kind of currency you have to watch. Is you start the game with 50 steps each day. And that basically means 50 rooms you can go. Like every time you cross the barrier between a room, you go down 1 step. So, but let's say you've set down this corner bedroom thing that every time you walk in that room, you get 2 steps. Or, I set down this one early. That means that every bedroom I place later will give me 5 steps. Or I find a sleep mask item. That means every time I enter a new bedroom for the first time, I'll get an additional 5 steps. So you're kind of managing keys, gems, and steps. And then there's gold as well. So there are these kind of currencies that you're managing throughout. There are the green rooms, which are kind of like the garden rooms that will only kind of pop up on the edges of the house. So it could be like this veranda or a patio. And a lot of those will have like, fresh dirt. And if you have a shovel item, you could like dig that up and you might find trash, you might find a key, you might find something else. So it's not just random, 3 each time. There's like, okay, well, if you've drafted this room, then these 3 rooms get added to the draft pool. So there's just a lot of learning, even in those early hours where it's not this huge revelation bonanza or anything yet. You're kind of just like, oh, I'm realizing that, okay, if I want that room, I should do this, or I should be going on the sides of the house. And it's a constant learning process. I don't think there's ever...
Let me get this right. It sounds like you have rooms which unlock the ability to get items that can then be served in different rooms, and vice versa. But then while that's happening, there's a narrative, I'm assuming.
There is, yes. And a lot of
that you're gripping your way through.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, like, that narrative is told through, you'll find a lot of books. There's a library room where you can request to check out books. There's a bookshop where you can buy books that will, populate in the library. There's a lot of letters. There's a lot of photographs. And then there's things where it's like, if you have a magnifying glass item, on everything you see for the most part, like anything readable or diagrams or pictures, you can bring the magnifying glass up and kind of look through stuff. And it's like, oh, wait, that thing looks really tiny without the magnifying glass, but oh, crap, that's a password if I do this. Or like, this scribbled out illegible thing, if you put the magnifying glass up, you can maybe ascertain what's going on there. So there's just a lot of like, the first time you get the magnifying glass, you want to go back and be like, I got to look back at all those books and stuff. There might be something there. And a lot of times there's not. A lot of times there's something that will open up a whole new area of the game.
What is your favorite room?
Oh, that's a good question. Favorite room? Oh man. The courtyard is nice because it's got 3 exits and there's a lot of dirt piles and a lot of times there's a chest in there. And if I have a sledgehammer, I can just bust the lock on the chest. So, courtyard, good exits and the opportunity for a lot of different little goodies.
What room makes you feel the nicest?
There's the ladies' something chamber that is just a dead end room that you go into and you get like 10 steps. It's really nice, and then it gives you a bonus for future bedrooms. But there's a locked diary in there, and I know how to unlock it. And I know there's secrets in there that are going to help me, but I need to do it on the same run that I have the tomb, because I need to be able to go down to the tomb to get the key to that diary, and I haven't been able to get them to spawn on the same thing. So that is on my to-do list. I am trying to unlock the diary in the ladies' chambers.
So no tomb.
I've been in the tomb, but not on the same day that I've had the ladies' chamber.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a workshop? There's a workshop where all your items, you can figure out, like, if I shove a shovel and a compass together, I can make a dowsing rod or something. And it's a lot of, like, anytime I have a bunch of items, I want to spawn a workshop and be like, oh, I made a powered jackhammer, like stuff like that.
Wait, there's crafting?
In one room with a handful of items, yes. There's a finite amount of things you can craft.
Have you been to the Winchester Mystery House in real life?
No, but I have heard of it. I was curious. It was near the Bay Area, right?
Yeah. Do you know about it?
crazy staircases that go nowhere and gun people made it or something?
Yeah. I mean, the briefest non-professional history lesson, don't take anything I say as truth, but from what I understand, it was like the wife or the person of the family who created the Winchester rifle, the gun that won the West, I think is the saying. And basically this woman was convinced that all the people who were killed by the gun, their ghosts would come and haunt her. So she she continued to build rooms in her home in a way to escape the ghosts.
Did it work?
I don't know. I mean,
did she die by
dead.
ghost?
But,
did ghosts kill her?
I don't know.
Was the cause of death ghosts?
Life. I mean, she didn't escape, the inevitable death. But I mean, I don't know if the ghosts were the cause. But those rooms lead to random places, or stairwells to nowhere, or dead ends, or small hallways that lead to nothing. I've been there. They really sensationalize it up. They deliberately make you go through the back first, which is where it's all fucked up and wiggly woggly, and then you go to the front where it's all normal. I think, not that I'm a business marketing professional, you should start in the front and then watch the descent as you go. Anyways, it's when somebody was trying to explain this game to me, I kept thinking about the Winchester Mystery House. I take it there's no correlation.
Well, not directly, but there definitely are things where if you're placing a room with a bunch of exits and it's butting up against a room that doesn't have an entrance, it's there will be weird boarded up doors and stuff like that. So you can, if you want to design your own mystery house, you can, but you're going to do bad at this game.
Last thing, math.
Yeah.
Tell me about your math.
I was really good at math until it got weird in school. Because it's
start making weird noises and be
weird symbols and stuff. The adding, the subtracting, the multiplying, dividing. It's yes, I can see the applications for these things. And then it just got a little abstract, and I was I don't care for this no more.
But this brought it back for you. Are there weird symbols in this game for you?
Yeah, it gets real weird. But it's tied to darts.
Darts.
It's darts math. Yeah.
Do you do the math on the dartboard?
That's correct.
So do you throw darts to do the math?
There's no actual darts. It's just a dartboard and a lot of math. And it starts okay, I get this. I think I've unlocked what this is. And then every day you go back, and every time you solve it, it gets harder.
Oh, okay.
And I'm at the point, because I'm many days into this game, and it is insane every time. I hate the dartboard. I used to like the billiards room. Now I hate the billiards room. And there's also a parlor room where it's 3 boxes. I love logic puzzles, but these get crazy. There's 3 boxes, and it's 2 of them, or there's always one true one, and there's always one false one. And then the other one can be either. So you could have 2 trues and a false, 2 falses and a true. And they will all have statements on them most of the time.
All right.
And you get one wind-up key. And it's so you got to read that and be the blue box says that the gems are in the black box, but the black box says the blue box is lying, and the white box has nothing on it. So what the hell do I do with that? So it's a lot of staring at boxes and math and rooms and paintings. And do you see why this is a hard game to talk about?
It sounds like a game that I really liked last year. A little game called Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
I thought of that many times while I was playing it because I know one Jake Decker is a big fan of Lorelei.
Yeah, Jake's shouting in the background.
I know. Look, Lorelei, I have deep respect for. I was not able to break through. That was very difficult.
That game starts and you are not unraveling. I mean, you are not being given small steps you can take. That game pushes you into a lockbox.
Yeah, you're in the deep end right away with that one. I do feel like Blueprints, you can go as deep as you want to here, and I do think it kind of eases you in a bit. Because again, early on, it's very deliberate with hey, just try to get to the end here, and then you don't even realize it, and you're knee deep by the end.
Well, I'm a big fan of Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. 9 out of 10, according to me personally. I reviewed that game. But hearing people talk about Blueprints, it just makes me think about another wonderful game. I haven't played Blueprints yet. I will be playing it. But if anybody needs a fix after and may have missed a little game, may I recommend Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It has math, and you're going to need a notebook. All right, Dan, we have one last segment, and then you're free to go and pee again. It is
are you assuming I need to pee?
Yeah. Here you go.
Right. All right, yeah,
the GameSpot Power Ranking Board. You remember this, don't you? All right, so where does Blueprints go in the midst of this? The last you may have seen, Adam Falls now at the top of this. And you have to decide whether or not Blueprints goes all the way at the bottom, all the way at the top, or maybe somewhere in between one of these games. Can you see what these games are?
I can, yes. And I have full, I can put this wherever I want to.
Yes, you can.
Let me just go one by one. Is there anything on here that I would put above Blueprints? I feel weird coming in here as a guest and screw up your whole board.
No, that's the point.
Have to.
That's the point. This is the chaos of how it goes.
All right.
You're the one to decide how this is a reflection of our chaos.
All right. Well, Kurt, I'm looking at this right now. I like a lot of these games. Split Fiction, had a lot of fun playing it with my wife. Pyre Yakuza is cool. Assassin's Creed Shadows, I like more than I expected. But Kurt, move a bunch of those things. This is going right to the top.
Wow! Get out of here, folks.
No question.
Every single time we're going to have a new game that somebody likes, it's just going to go directly to the top of the board.
Look, there are a lot of games I like, but Blueprints is like singular.
Singular. All right, well, if we ever do a retrospective, I'll just put Lorelei and Laser Eyes somewhere.
Sure.
I want. All right, folks. Dan, thank you so much for being here. Can we do the handshake?
Oh, yeah. Is this
the other way? The other way.
It's over here?
Here we go.
Okay, let's do that. I'm going to do the double,
they call that the president handshake.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Kurt.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, folks. That's been the GameSpot Show. This has been Dan Ryckert. We've been talking about Blueprints. Thanks for showing up. Every Thursdays, I'm here to tell you about something new and game related. All right. See you later.